It's Monday, the 28th of October, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1. It is a massive week for the local economy, with headline inflation expected to have finally fallen within the RBA's 2 to 3% range. But that is not going to be enough, is it, to convince the central bank to cut rates in 8 days' time?
It is not. The Australian Bureau of Statistics this week releases the Consumer Price Index figures. They're going to reflect those government energy rebates, which were announced at the last election, $3,000 rebates, $750 per quarter. What that means is that energy prices will go backwards, and that'll actually cause inflation to fall, headline inflation, to that 2 to 3% level. Problem is, the Reserve Bank and its Governor, Michelle Bullock's already said it's looking through the $3,000 rebates, more interested in what they call the trimmed mean measure, which is underlying inflation. That's likely to be about 3.5%. That takes out all the volatile stuff, including these energy rebates. Upshot of this, Reserve Bank won't do anything when it meets next week because the underlying rate is still at 3.5%. It's nowhere near its 1 to 2% range. Bond markets reckon there's a 30% chance of rate cut in December, 70% in February, 100% in May next year. We'll just be waiting a little while, I think, before we get a rate cut, Michael.
Yeah, indeed. Sean, story number 2 is also a very big week for the housing market, with more than 3,000 homes going under the hammer, and the preliminary clearance rate across the country fell to 66.8%.
It was the biggest week since before Easter, the second highest number of auctions of the year. Melbourne, its preliminary clearance rate came in at 68.5%, according to CoreLogic. That's not bad for that city. Sydney came in at 64.5%. That's down from more than 70% a week earlier, the second lowest of the year. Later this week, we'll get monthly house price data. It just looks like growth and house prices could well be stalling in the country's largest city. Brisbane's preliminary clearance rate came in at 58%, Adelaide 74%, ACT was 67%. The other thing to note is these rates are preliminary. The final clearance rates are generally much lower. So I'd imagine that this week will come in at about 57, 58% when all's said and done.
Story number 3, Sean. Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, is under fire over his relationship with Qantas and former CEO Alan Joyce, with a new book saying the PM was provided with dozens of free flight upgrades.
The book by former AFR columnist Joe Aston infers the two are too close, or were too close, and it lists at least 22 free upgrades on economy tickets dating back to 2009. Mr Albanese was shadow transport minister and transport minister in some of those years. There's also a lot of discussion about use of the Chairman's Lounge. It's an exclusive lounge for CEOs, politicians, etc. Anthony Albanese's son was admitted as a Chairman's Lounge member. Now, Mr Albanese just yesterday said he declared all the upgrades and his son was his plus one. That's okay, but his partner's also a member of the Chairman's Lounge. Pointy end is that the government blocked Qatar Airways flying more routes into Australia, and the inference is that Mr Albanese's relationship with Alan Joyce and Qantas had a role in that decision. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's the inference from Nine.
Story number 4, Commonwealth Bank, Sean, has threatened to cut bonuses and discipline workers if they repeatedly break the company's return to the office rules. They mean business, don't they?
They sure do. The nation's largest bank sent an email to staff saying it will review office attendance monthly, according to the Fin Review. If those reviews show that people are doing the wrong thing, there'll be 2 written warnings, then further action. What's further action? Well, it could impact on variable remuneration, bonuses, also on performance ratings. Now, since July 23, Commonwealth Bank requires staff in the office at least 50% of the time. I don't think that's asking too much, personally. Others to make similar moves in terms of bringing people in and then having these variable remuneration and performance rating at risk. Places like Origin Energy, Suncorp and ANZ, clearly big corporates are struggling to get people back into the office.
Finally, Sean, story number 5. What do you make of this one? In Major League Baseball, arguably the 2 most famous teams are the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. They faced off over the weekend in the World Series, with the average ticket price on the secondary market $1,700.
Yes, the average ticket price. What's that? 2,600 Aussie. Effectively, this is the grand final series, best of 7. Two of the biggest stars. Aaron Judge plays for the Yankees. Shohei Ohtani plays for the Dodgers, the billion dollar man. It's been 43 years since these two have faced off. The cheap seats for games over the weekend in Los Angeles, the cheap seats were $975 US. Game 3 at Yankee Stadium tomorrow night is expected to be the most expensive. The average ticket price is nearly $2,000 US, 3,000 Aussie. Standing room only tickets, $1,500 US dollars. Behind the home plate, $20,000 US dollars. Whew. Also, Michael, got to throw in Mad Yankee fan, down 0-2. The Dodgers won the 2 games in LA over the weekend.
Oh, dear. All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 28th of October, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.